Our friend's entitled sister tried to force her way into our trip to Egypt. This story happened quite a few years ago with me and my friends, but after reading quite a few stories on the subreddit, I feel now is as good a time as any to share this post. On November 2019, me and a couple of my friends who I will call Haley, Rose, and Rachel were given an opportunity to travel to the Valley of the Kings in Egypt. Note that we are archaeology graduates. While our families and friends were excited and proud of us of being able to go on this trip, Rachel's family did not feel the same way. Rachel's younger sister, who I'll call Lisa, was the golden child of her family. Anything she wanted, her parents gave to her, while Rachel had to take out a student loan to pay for college. Lisa's parents paid for her tuition only for Lisa to drop out 2 years in. Instead, Lisa chose to try and build a career being a model and influencer on Instagram. When Rachel mentioned that she was going to Egypt with us, that our plane tickets and accommodation have been already taken care of for archaeological fieldwork, Lisa got jealous as she felt that a trip, taking photos of herself in Egypt for Instagram, would help launch her modeling career. That said, their parents demanded that Rachel give her tickets to Lisa as they felt Lisa was more deserving of it, to which Rachel obviously said no. It was already paid for by the foundation specifically for her and our group who were trained to do this kind of work, etc. According to Rachel, she's had back and forth arguments with her family leading up to the trip, that she eventually just left home and moved in with her boyfriend's, now husband, apartment. I held on to our plane tickets as we were all to meet up at my dad's place in the morning before we head off to the airport. At the time, I still lived with my dad. That said, as me, Rachel, Haley, and Rose were at my place, just hanging out and getting ready, the car of Lisa and their mom pulled up as they came knocking on my door. Apparently, they were demanding one more time that Rachel give her ticket to Lisa. Lisa even had a couple of bags with her as well. Before I continue, just to give you a better understanding of Lisa and Rachel's family and why they may behave or think this way. Rachel is the only one in her family who has actually finished college. Rachel pretty much took care of herself for much of her childhood as her parents were too fixated on Lisa. Their parents moved to Los Angeles from Florida to try and become actors, but failed. Moved up here for some reason, and now their dad works as a truck driver and their mom, I think, works at a grocery store. Rachel's family treated formal education and academia in general as a joke, and didn't really support the idea of anyone going to college until Lisa decided she wanted to try going to college herself, as previously mentioned. Haley then interjected, interrupting them and pointing out again that this was not a vacation, this was an archaeological trip, and we were going there to do actual work. Haley went on to point out that it's Rachel's name on the plane ticket and on our accommodation in Luxor, so she asked Lisa and her mom questions like, how do you think Lisa is going to get on the plane? Who will Lisa be traveling with in Egypt? And where will Lisa be staying there? Apparently, Lisa, despite not being friends with us at all, and her mom expected the rest of us, me, Haley, and Rose, to just somehow convince customs to let her through and get on the flight, as well as expecting us to look after and accompany Lisa. I should also note that apart from Rachel, nobody in her family ever traveled on a plane before. Lisa and their mom have never been overseas, and the only international traveling their dad ever did was driving trucks to and from Mexico. That said, I'm guessing this is why they don't seem to know how plane tickets or customs work, but that's just my assumption. I then pointed out to Lisa that if she really wants to go to Egypt, she could just buy her own tickets to Egypt and book her own accommodation. However, Lisa said she didn't want to do any of that, and she wanted Rachel's place in our trip as she wanted all the expenses to be paid for, and for us to accompany her as she didn't want to travel by herself. Lisa and her mom eventually left after seeing that trying to argue and force her way into our trip was not getting them anywhere, with the four of us, me, Haley, Rachel, and Rose, flying off to Egypt. After the dig at the Valley of the Kings, we did get to go and do touristy stuff such as touring Cairo and seeing the pyramids of Giza. As for Lisa, while she still posts a lot on Instagram, she seems to have given up on a modeling and/or influencer career as she's now just working in a warehouse. After the pandemic, she did get to go on vacation to Cancun though, but that's about it. Edit. I make it a point to print out paper copies of the tickets as I prefer using paper rather than just showing them my phone, and needless to say, yes, we all had our passports and visas, except Lisa, who had a passport. Sure, but I'm certain didn't have a visa.